Good morning, guys. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for stopping by. I'm sorry my voice is a little off today. I have a little bit of a sore throat. Today we are talking about 5 tips for motivating the reluctant reader. And this is a collab hosted by Mommy and Mia Homeschool Chronicles. So I'm so glad that she put this together. I'm excited to see what the other ladies have. So the link to the playlist will be down below, so make sure you check out the other videos if this is something you're interested in. And I'm in a different place today. I'm outside because my kids are sleeping and I don't want to wake them up, and I'm trying to find a place where there's not like a calf mooing at me or a rooster crowing. So life on the farm, guys, this is how it is. For dealing with reluctant readers, I am coming at this from the perspective of a mom with pretty little kids still. My oldest just this year started reading fluently on his own, you know, where he can pick up anything and read it, which has been interesting when you're not used to having that around. And then my other one is reading CVC words at this point. So I can tell you what works with my little kids, and just kind of a disclaimer too about that. I see so often recommended that when we're teaching our children to read, you know, if they're resistant at all, then that's a sign that we should just stop and wait. And I believe that may be true in a lot of cases, but sometimes that's just your child's personality too. And you know that best, so you should be the judge of that. Like, we started my oldest at 4 because he was ready, and this year we started my now 4-year-old on the same lessons, and there has been more resistance with him, but I don't think it's at all because he doesn't get it. That's just his personality. That's just how he is. He's a soft-hearted little guy, and if it's gonna look like work, he's gonna try to figure out a way to get out of it. So I don't think that would change even if we waited until he was 20. So if you're dealing with that, it's not really an official tip, but it's kind of a disclaimer that I'm not pushing him beyond what I think his abilities are. Okay, tip number 1 is to play games. We use Logic of English Foundations, and they include a ton of games right in the material, so we just love that. You have seen in one of our day in the lives, at least, we played phonogram basketball, and we play that a lot, where they pick up a word, they read it. If they read it properly, they get to crumple it up and throw it into a basket, just like a bin or a tub or a trash can or whatever you have out. And so they really like that one. Logic of English also has us do like mazes and things around the house where they have to step from word to word. Of course, they have to read them, or they have them run back and forth to do things, or fine motor things too. Like they will put their they'll have us put a blindfold on, and they have to try to write the word blindfolded. So just as much fun as you can incorporate into it. You know your kid best, but games definitely help get them into it, or at least help them get through it without complaining too much. Tip number 2, build anticipation. So for our core and our read alouds, we use Sunlight, and they also have readers for Sunlight. So this year my son did grade 1 readers, and Sunlight is really smart because they lay out the schedule for you of which books you read which day. And so this year when I gave him a stack of books and said you can look through your new readers, he really was drawn to Balto, the bravest dog ever. We know Balto's story probably. And he was so excited to read Balto, and wouldn't you know, that was the very last book on the schedule. So all year he's been reading along diligently, and every week he asked me, how many more books until we get to Balto, Mom? He actually just read Balto this week, and he said it was awesome. He read it like 3 times, and he read it aloud to his brothers, and he really enjoyed it. Build anticipation. Tip number 3. Give them responsibility. So this works more so with my older son. He's almost 7. So we've started making him a checklist every day, and I usually will make it for him at breakfast, and we'll discuss it as I go. And it has on it everything he needs to accomplish in the day before he's just completely free and doesn't have any more jobs to do. And so I'll put his reading on there, you know, reader, pages, da-da-da. And so he's really motivated to get that list checked off in the day. And that way he kind of takes responsibility for that, and I don't have to nag him, oh, you need to do your reader now. So in our house we have Kindles, and usually they don't get a Kindle at all until their list is done. There's no screen time, there's no like wander off with your brother into the back, you know, acreage and build a fort or anything like that until your list is done. So having the readers on his list just kind of motivates him to get it done. Tip number 4 is to use certificates and incentives. So this is one of our readers from Sunlight, and in the back they have a certificate. It says, I did read it. This certificate of completion is hereby granted to you, and you fill out their name, and then I can sign it and date it. And so I did this. This is book 3. I did this with book 1, and he was so proud of it. It was so cute, and we hung it up on the wall where we hang some of his other stuff. And he would was telling everybody when they would come over, look at my certificate. And as he got faster, as he got to the point where he was reading this book in a couple sittings, I gradually didn't do it as much. We didn't make as big a deal out of it. The other incentive we use is the Pizza Hut Book It program, which I've tried to share about that. I don't know if enrollment is still open or if they're starting to close it. So I will link down below to it anyways. If you can't get in this year, get in next year. We use the Book It certificates, and they're good for 1 personal pan pizza each month. It's I think October through May. And so that actually saves us quite a bit because we really like Pizza Hut. It's one of the few places my son can have on his diet. And so that's basically a $5 value that we get once a month. So if all the kids start getting them, that'll be really nice. I believe it does start at 4 years old or kindergarten. So depending on how your kid falls. But we like it, and because of my son's dietary restrictions, we had to ask about substitutions. And it kind of depends on the manager, but usually they will let us do a different side instead of the personal pan, as long as it's still around that $5 value. So if you don't like personal pan pizzas, don't be afraid to ask for something else. Tip number 5 is to mark milestones. And so maybe a certificate is kind of like that, but the certificate is more to us motivation to get it done. We'll put it up on the wall. Marking milestones is a big deal in our house. We have a red plate. Have you guys heard about red plates? The red plate comes out for anything special. We try to do red plates on birthdays and things like that. The special guest gets the plate. And so when my son finished his very first book, had read his very first words, we got out the red plate that night and we made a huge deal of it. And we, when my husband came home, we were so excited telling him, guess what he did today? He read his first words. Now he can read, and he gets the red plate because he's a reader now. And we'll do this for other things too, if they finish a book, the foundations, finish a level, something like that. Try to mark those milestones in a big way. So I hope that was really helpful. I'm excited to see what the other moms put up, and then we'll all be super prepared for next year if you're teaching someone to read next year. So thank you for stopping by. Make sure to hit like. It helps the video get in front of more people. And if you want to hang around, subscribe so you can see what we have coming up next. Thanks, guys.